Over the last few years, we've helped to crown over 122 fantasy basketball champions. But over the course of that time, we've made some mistakes. We've had some wins and we've had some losses. In this episode, we're going to go over our 2025 hits and misses. We believe every NBA fan that plays fantasy football should also play fantasy basketball. If it's your first time here, I'm Robin Marks, your personal fantasy basketball analyst. I used to work with NBC Sports Roto World. I used to help out at #basketball, and now I work for you. So I'm just coming off the All-Star game weekend. Oh, baby. Now, people have some mixed reviews out there right now, right? So for me, number one highlight was Mac McClung. Like seeing him 3 years in a row win the Slam Dunk Championship was epic, and I hope that he will bring some of those all-star level players to the arena so they can compete. Ja Morant already dropped a tweet about him maybe getting back in it, and Giannis said, if you do it, Ja, I'll do it. So hopefully we get an all-star level player that's not Jaylen Brown, because Jaylen Brown did it a couple years ago and stunk up the joint. When I tell you. But if Ja Morant gets into the dunk contest, I think that would be huge for the league. Now, quickly before we jump into the hits and misses, I got to talk about what we saw with the new All-Star game format. Now, Draymond Green was on TV last night hating on it, talking about how bad it was and how it was messing up the legacy, how guys wouldn't be able to compete for the scoring title or the most points scored in the game because they're changing the format. And for me, listen, as a fan, I just want competition. And it seemed like guys were playing with purpose. And I think there's a way, if they tweaked it a little bit, that the amount of points that each team has to reach, where right now it's 40 and then they have 2 games, maybe add an additional game or an additional round, I should say, and then they would have the opportunity to score 120 points. And then you could say like, hey, a guy scored 45 points over the course of 3 games. Now he can compete for that title. But again, for me, more than like history and what happened in the past, it's about having a product that people want to watch. And for me, I really enjoyed it. Now, were there a lot of breaks with Kevin Hart and all of this kind of stuff? Yes, that was a thing, and people were maybe a little against that. But I like that kind of entertainment. I like comedy. I like that they humanize the figures in the NBA. They highlighted the inside the NBA team, Ernie, Chuck, Kenny, and Shaq. I thought that was cool. There was a lot of performances. You know, I was into that as well. In Vogue came out, which I love In Vogue. E40, Too Short. I thought that was dope. A lot of people on the internet hating, but at the end of the day, I think it was a step in the right direction. I don't think it was as bad as last year's, but it definitely wasn't as good as the Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan era of the All-Star game. One more thing before we start. I'm giving away this card at the end of the month, at the end in February. If you want it, it's a PSA 9 Darius Garland rookie card. It is yours. All you have to do to enter is actually drop a comment on the YouTube version of this episode. Really quick, I want to talk to you about BetOnline. BetOnline continues to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football to NBA, college basketball to NHL and UFC, BetOnline is the number one sports betting source for the new year. From touchdowns to three-pointers and hat tricks, BetOnline has you covered on every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here. So let's just go ahead and start with the hits. Let's start with the hits. Like, I don't want to do hits and then a miss, hit and a miss. Let's just do all the hits, not all of the hits, most of the hits that I have here for you. And then we'll go through the heartbreaking misses, So first up, let's do my man from the New York Knicks, Karl Anthony Towns. When I tell you, if you go back and look at our content during the offseason, we was looking at Cat like, man, y'all sleeping. And my whole angle, I got whole episodes about this. My whole angle was before Rudy Gobert arrived in Minnesota, Cat was a machine, a 20 and 10, 25 and 10 type of player. I went through his statistics, his historical data that showed that until Rudy Gobert arrived, it was like he was a different player. And then after, it was like a before Rudy and after Rudy type of situation. And after Rudy, he declined. I said, I'm on the record saying that Karl Anthony Towns will have a resurgence like we've never seen. And that is, in fact, what we've seen from him. He is the first big man to start in the All-Star game for the New York Knicks since Patrick Ewing. Huh? Come on, man. So that's what I be telling y'all. If you want to win chips, especially in points leagues, you got to rock with the Believe in Fantasy Basketball family. Currently, according to Yahoo Points League's rankings, Karl Anthony Towns is ranked number 7. He is a top 10 player, y'all. I did not have him in my first round. I did have him in the top of my second, right? He was going in the third and fourth for some people. He started going up in rankings as we got closer to the season starting, but people still were drafting him third round, fourth round. I was saying this guy is going to take off. And we were right. He is currently number 7, according to Yahoo Points Leagues, averaging 24.7 points per game, 13.4 rebounds per game. Come on, man. I don't give a shit. Sue Puppy. If you drafted him, you got a deal. Now, I wouldn't go crazy and try to sell high on him or anything like that because I think this value is too precious for you to be given away. Also on the season, averaging 3.3 assists, 1 steal, and a little less than a block a game. Karl Anthony Towns is a beast, yo. He's an absolute beast. The next player we were high on and that has been coming into his own from the Orlando Magic, Franz Wagner. Franz Wagner is averaging 25 points per game this season, 5.6 rebounds, 4.9 assists, 1.4 steals, a little less than half a block a game. Now, he was banged up for a bunch of the season. He's only played 36 games so far, but when he's been on the floor, the value's been there. So you did take a hit in terms of him being injured, but guys, come on, it's fantasy basketball. Your players are gonna get injured. This is a part of the process. People kill me out here when there's a couple of people in the fantasy football space who do this. When a player gets injured, they consider them a bust. Now, I wouldn't consider someone a bust. I would say that it's unfortunate that they're injured. And there's some players that I honestly wouldn't draft just because of their injury histories and their history. And we'll talk about a couple of those players in the I told you so segment, right? But for Franz, him being banged up a few games, he had like an abdominal situation. He's back. He's averaging 25 a game. Don't worry. He's been a relatively healthy player throughout his career. So for me, I'm very confident in what he's doing and what he will do moving forward. The next player we were super high on, but again, there was injuries surrounding him, Isaiah Hartenstein from the OKC Thunder. Listen, on the season, he's averaging 11.1 points per game. Yes, 11.9 rebounds. Come on, 3.9 assists, a little less than a steal a game, and 1.1 blocks per game. Top is off, boobies is out, hair blowing in the frickin' wind. So, for Isaiah, he started off the season injured. So his draft stock was low at the beginning of the season, right? His draft stock was a little lower because people didn't want to draft a person with a fat red O next to the side of their name, right? So people weren't drafting him. And because of that, you got tons of value. I was telling y'all, grab him in those middle rounds. He would be way more valuable than a CJ McCollum or, people like Brandon Miller, Walker Kessler, people who are in that area now. I was more confident in Isaiah. So for me, I'm happy for those who drafted him, and I'm glad that I got him in a couple of leagues. The next guy I want to talk about is someone that folks were just low on for no reason. He also made the All-Star game. Darius Garland from the Cleveland Cavaliers. On the season, he's averaging 21.6 points per game, 2.5 rebounds, and 6.7 assists. Yes. And check this out. 1.1 steals per game. Let that sink in. So for me, where he was going, I think this is excellent value for what you invested in Darius Garland, and I'm happy with that pickup. The next hit is somebody that I didn't understand why people was fronting so hard, man. I was like, listen, you really don't forget. I don't know if y'all remember this Roy Jones Jr. rap song that he had. He was like, y'all must have forgot. No, hold up. That was DMX. That was DMX. What was the Roy Jones Jr. song? Yo, he had a song that was pretty much the same thing. Like, y'all must have forgot who I was, yo. Anyway you look at it, this guy that I'm talking about is an absolute beast. Has he been banged up a little bit? Yes, he's missed some games. But when he's on the floor, it is on like Donkey Kong. From the Charlotte Hornets, LaMelo Ball. Oh, baby. Vicious work. I was so high on LaMelo in draft season. He came out the gates on fire. Like, he was top 10 early. Currently, according to Yahoo Points League rankings, he is number 12, averaging 27.3 on the season, 5.1 rebounds, 7.2 assists. Come on, man. 1.3 steals. Where they do that at? I'm just saying. Now, he's only played 33 games this year, so we would want him to be in the high 40s, maybe 50s, but this is okay. This is fine. He hopefully he stays healthy, but the production doesn't lie. I love LaMelo Ball, and also it's good to see his brother G-Lo getting his run on. When I swerve and they're gonna whoa, for sure. I just think like all the Ball brothers are doing their thing. Big shout out to the Pops. You know what I'm saying? He really, really set the tone for them. Before we go into these misses, I want to talk to you about our paid community. If you love this free community, but you want to invest in what we're building, please consider becoming a paid subscriber. Think of it like treating me to a coffee and bagel once a month. Becoming a paid subscriber will grant you access to our MVP Discord channel. When I tell you, the MVP Discord channel is like my therapy, yo. I'm in there talking to the guys about any and everything about fantasy. It's really, really dope. It's just a good space to kind of let loose, be yourself, but also get some fantasy value in real time. So shout out to everybody who's a part of the MVP Discord channel, especially my man Antec, who is one of our administrators for Believe in Fantasy Basketball. He moderates that group. He does a phenomenal job, and I'm just grateful for him. Also, it'll grant you access to priority and DM email replies from me. So if you have any questions and you need fast response, shoot me a DM, or you can shoot me an email and I'll respond. And most importantly, your support will help us to keep creating content. You're not obligated or expected to pay anything to be a part of this community, but there are expenses associated with running this operation. And your support will help us to keep this going for years to come. To get started, visit BelieveInFantasy.com. Enter your email and select the level of support that works for you. Even if it's free, there's a free option. Click that, no problem. Now, we want to get into these misses. And listen, if you've been around the channel for a while, you've seen me do this and say, when I'm wrong, I raise my hand. When I'm wrong, I raise my hand. I'm not out here trying to pretend like I always get it right because I make mistakes. I have bad takes. I have some really bad takes. I've been on platforms, talking fantasy and had some bad takes and people lit me up in the comments. And I'm okay with that because I'm human. And also when you do like this podcast talking bit, like sometimes I'm just flowing, man. It's like I'm having a conversation with my people, right? And you, my man, that we just cooking over here, right? So when I'm talking to my guy, I might say something that later on is not valid or doesn't age well. Which in a lot of cases, the shish kebabs just don't age well. I'm just saying, sometimes I have some questionable takes. And here we go with some of them. So my first miss that I want to talk about, man, this guy, I've been so high on this guy, Cheech and Chong, Method Man, Red Man, high on this guy. And he honestly has just been letting me down. He making me look bad. I'm trying to pull up his stats, but I've been scrolling down for so far, I think I won't even make it to him. So I'm not even going to try to run his stats for you. I'm going to just let you know that anytime I give a player a nickname is because I really, really like them. Even if the nickname is kind of a diss. So I call Josh Giddey the Giddler, which is kind of a diss, but I love him, you know what I'm saying? And this is not the guy I'm talking about. I'm still trying to fudge this segment to see if I can grab this guy's stats. But Jesus Christ, his joint is so far down. Anyway, the player I'm talking about from the Memphis Grizzlies, Desmond Bring the Pain Bane. Yeah, exactly. So listen, I was on a hilltop telling people, yo, grab yourself some Desmond Bane. Is going to be a value. He was banged up early in the season, so his value was low. People was like, okay, I trust you, Robin. I'm listening to you, Robin. And when I tell you, I still have not found this man's ranking. I don't know what to do. It's so bad. He's down in the dumps this season, and he just won't bounce back. And it doesn't make any sense to me because last season he was pretty good. And I don't know if it's connected to Ja Morant being healthy this season or the ascension of Jaren Jackson Jr., but I found his rankings. He's currently ranked 58. I thought it was worse than that, but still, I expected way more from him. 18 points a game, 5.8 rebounds, 5.5 assists. All seems like solid numbers. I was just way higher on him, and I was on the record. So it's not that he's having a total disappointment of a season, according to this, but where I had him was a lot higher. The next player, however, is having a bit of a stinker for his season. He is stinking up the joint. When I tell you, hot dog water with the bratwurst residue. Dumpster juice monopoly in the juice box. Ugh, yuck. Pusha T nasty. I'm saying this guy, and I was mad high on this guy. I was Snoop Dogg high on this guy. From the Philadelphia 76ers, Podcast P, a.k.a. Paul George, a.k.a. PG-13. Currently, according to Yahoo Points League rankings, check this out, y'all. Paul George is ranked number 73. So how you go from the Clippers kind of doing your numbers to go into the 76ers, and now you want your rank to be closer to 76 than it's ever been in your career. He went from what? He's ranked number 73. He's 3 away from being a 76er for real. I can't. On a season averaging 16.1 points per game. Heck to the no. I'm not even sharing the rest of his stats. That is gross. That is nasty work. I am out on this. So that I raised my hand. I said Paul George was a value. Paul George was not a value. He was not a value. I failed you there. I failed you. Next up is another guy that, again, I've been like, I've been all the way in the clouds high on. From the Houston Rockets, Fred VanVleet. Now, Fred VanVleet was going way lower than I thought he should go. And I didn't really understand it at the time. I was like, what are you talking about? Freddie's going to be Freddie, regardless if these young bucks are doing their numbers. But when I tell you, Fred VanVleet has been having, like, people are in the chat talking about, yo, should I drop Fred VanVleet? Let that sink in. People are literally in the chat asking me, Robin Marks, should I drop Fred VanVleet? And I'm like, yo, I don't know, bro. Like, I wouldn't, but, like, look at his numbers. Look at the worst player on your team. So for me, I'm really disappointed in Fred VanVleet's performance this season, and I'll take full responsibility. That was my bad. Now, the last one here, before I get into the I told you so list, this one's going to hurt. I'm probably the only fantasy basketball analyst on the planet that had this take. And boy, was I wrong. From the Minnesota Timberwolves, you guessed it, Rob Dillingham. Oh, I got that so wrong. And I'll say this. I'm here in the Atlanta area. Just went to the OTE game last week. You see, we got the VIP treatment. We were sitting front row. I'm a huge OTE fan. Love everything that they're doing there. It's amazing, right? It's amazing for the Atlanta area, but it's just amazing for basketball to see young players up close like that and get that kind of a guest experience and just online video experience. They do a great job. So I was high on the Rob Dillingham came from OTE wave, and boy, was I wrong. Just because opportunity hasn't been there, and even recently with him getting some run, he hasn't really produced on the level that I would have hoped to see from him. So I'll raise my hand and say I really got it wrong with Rob Dillingham. Now, here goes the I told you so list, and this is good. I told you not to draft Joel Embiid. I told you so. I literally was on the hilltop screaming at the top of my lungs, don't do it. And y'all still was like, well, he fell to the second. Like he fell to the second round, Rob, and I got to take him in the second round. No, don't take him in the second round. Well, he dropped to the third round. No, don't take him in the third round. And now you're trying to trade him off for pennies because you just don't want him on your roster. When I tell you, this is for this season, this is for every season. Stay away from Joel Embiid. He's currently ranked number 18 right now, which is okay, but he only plays 17 games. Stay away from Joel Embiid this season and every season moving forward until further notice. Yeah, I'll do a special episode if it's time to draft him again. Don't even draft him ever again. It's over. Next guy, and people say don't do not draft lists. This is why you do not draft lists for players like this. It's just bad juju, right? It's bad juju. It's not like, hey, you can't get value if you get them in the 8th round. Would I take them off the waiver wire? That's different. But I'm not spending, high level draft capital, like premium draft capital for something like a Joel Embiid. I'm just not doing it. I'm not drafting him at all. Maybe in the 12th round, 11th, 10th, maybe. But 1, 2, 3, first 3 rounds, heck to the no. Stay away from Joel Embiid. So I told you so. The next I told you so, is coming. Kawhi, broken thigh, Leonard. Stay away, all the way. And don't get me wrong, he's playing a little bit now. He might put up production. He always fools you. Last season, he was mad healthy. As soon as your fantasy basketball playoffs came, he wasn't healthy. On a season, he's ranked number 106, and he's injured again. I told you so. Don't draft Kawhi Leonard this season, next season, until further freaking notice. Next up, not this one I might be wrong on, but I'm going to still put it out there because I was high on not drafting him. Jimmy Butler. I said, don't draft Jimmy. Don't draft Jimmy, but the trade deadline has kind of shifted things around. It remains to be seen. I don't know if he'll be the same Jimmy, but that's kind of a question mark. That's kind of a question mark. So let me know in the comments, do you guys think that these were actually hits and misses? And do me a big favor, if you haven't done so already, please make sure you follow us on YouTube and also listen to the audio podcast. Even if you watch it on YouTube, if you could be a two-way player, play offense and defense, offense, watch your YouTube, defense, listen to the podcast, it would mean the world to me. And don't forget, play the waivers, set your lineups, and believe in fantasy.